All right, so for today, your math day 4, you're going to be practicing starting how to do long division. Okay, and so you've got a couple sheets to do. One sheet, we're going to do all of them together, and then you're going to do the other one on your own for practice. So we're going to go through and do over the hurdles together. We're going to do all the problems together so you can work right along. So if you don't have that worksheet, go ahead and pause the video and get your worksheet and your pencil ready. And then after we practice over the hurdles together, you're going to do the division sheet on your own. For the other half of the day 4 worksheet for today. All right, so, and if you look at the top of over the hurdles, there's an example there for you as well, where it's dividing 16 by 5, and it goes through the steps and shows you all the steps of long division. And then there's also an example on A down there as well. So you've got more than one example to refer back to as well. All right, so let's go down to A, and let's start with 9 divided by 2. And first of all, remember you read this by saying 9, which is your dividend, divided by 2, which is your divisor out on the. And so what you've got to do in order to be able to do long division, we have to think of a multiplication fact that is close to giving us an answer of 9. Okay, and so if I have a 2, what can I use? Now I'm going to think, and you don't write this yet. I'm going to write this off to the side, but I want you to think, okay? 2 times what would get me close to 9? If you said 2 times 5, that's too big. Is that 10? 2 times 5 would be 10. 2 times 3 is 6. That's not close enough. We could still get a little closer. I know that 2 times 4 gives me 8. And that is as close as 9 as I'm going to get without going over to 10. And so I'm going to use this 4. And I'm going to say 2 times 4. So I'm going to put a 4 up here at the top. So put a 4 up here. And then you've got to do multiplication. 2 times 4 is what? Well, we just said that 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to say 2 times 4 is 8. The 8 goes down here under your 9. And you're going to set up a simple subtraction problem. So your first step in trying to do long division is you've got to come up with a multiplication fact that's going to get you close to your dividend without going over. I know 2 times 4 is 8, and that's as close as 9 as I'm going to get without going over. So I put the 4 on the top. I multiply it by the 2, which gives me the 8. And I'm going to subtract the 8 from the 9. What is 9 minus 8? Good, it's 1. Now, I can't do anything else with this. 2 won't go into 1. 2 is too big. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say 4. And I'm going to write the little letter R. That's going to stand for remainder. And I'm going to put my 1 down here. And so my quotient, my answer is this whole part right here. And you say this by saying 4 remainder 1, which means I can make 4 equal groups of 2. That gives me 8. And I'm going to have 1 left over that wouldn't go into those equal groups. And so that's why I write 4 remainder 1. 4 equal groups of 2. So that would be 2, 4, 6, 8. And then that 1 left over, that's my remainder. All right, let's do 20 divided by 3. You have to think, what multiplication fact am I going to use that's going to get me close to 20 without going over? So think, 3 times what can get you close to 20 without going over? Well, some of you are probably thinking 3 times 7, but you just realized that 3 times 7 is 21. That's too big. So back it down and try 3 times 6. 3 times 6 is 18. That gets me pretty close because if I add 3 more, 19, 20, 21, that's too big. So I'm going to use 6. I'm going to use 3 times 6 equals 18. So when you have a 2-digit dividend under the box here, remember, you have to put your 1-digit answer on top of the ones place. So this 6 that we got is going to go on top of the 0. So, and then I'm going to say 3 times 6, which I just did. 3 times 6 is 18. So I'm going to line it up under my 20. And remember, you're going to set up a subtraction problem. So it's 20 minus 18. Now remember, you can't, and some of you have been making careless mistakes in your subtraction. This does not say 8 minus 0. You cannot put an 8 here. This says 0 minus 8. Remember, when you read a subtraction problem, you go from top to bottom. 0 minus 8, you can't do. I have to go next door and borrow. So if I have 2 and if I borrow 1, I'm going to be left with 1. This one then becomes a 10. You give that 10 to the 0, and then you can subtract because the bigger number is on top. 10 minus 8 is 2. Well, your divisor is too big. You cannot put 3 into 2. So when you know that this is bigger, this number here is bigger than the number on the bottom, that is your remainder when you cannot put it. When this one's bigger than the number on the bottom, that's your remainder. So 6, remainder 2. That is your answer. This means that I can have 3 groups of 6 and 2 left over. Okay? That means I have 6 plus 6 plus 6. That would give me 18. And then those 2 left over. All right, 19 divided by 2. 2 times what's going to get you close to 19 without going over? Well, 2 times 10 is too big. It's 20. Let's back down to 9. What's 2 times 9? Good. 2 times 9 is 18. So I'm going to use it. So I'm going to say that the 2 will go into 19 9 times without going over. And 2 times 9 is 18. We put our 18 under there. I said that 2 will go into 19 9 times. I could make 2 groups of 9. 9 plus 9 would be 18. And then I'm going to see how many I have left over. Well, when you subtract, 9 minus 8 is 1. Of course, 1 minus 1 is 0. So you get a remainder 1. 9 remainder 1, which means you can have 9 groups or 2 groups of 9 with 1 left over. All right, let's do 47 divided by 6. Got to think first. What factor are you going to use? 6 times what gets me close to 47 without going over? 6 times 10 is way too big at 60. What can you use without going over? 9 times 6 is too big. It's 54. 8 times 6 is too big. That's 48. What about 7? Let's try 7. What's 6 times 7? Good, 42. Until you get used to this, you're just going to have to go through your multiplication facts until you learn how to do long division. And so you're just going to have to work through your facts until you find it. I know that 6 will go into 47 7 times without going over. So 7 times 6 or 6 times 7 I said was 42. So I'm going to put my 42. And this is why it's so important too to know your multiplication facts. Because if you don't and you miss the number right here, you're going to miss your whole problem because you're going to subtract wrong. So be careful on your multiplication facts. Let's subtract. 7 minus 2 is 5. 4 minus 4, of course, is 0. This number is bigger than this number. You know you're done when you can no longer put this number into this number. It's too big. 6 won't go into 5. So that's my remainder. 7 remainder 5. Okay. Of course, if I always get going too fast, pause the video to get caught up too. Let's do 41 divided by 6. What factor are we going to use? 6 times what are we going to use to get close to 41 without going over? Well, we just used 6 times 7, and it's 42, so it's too big. So it can't be over 7. So let's try 6. 6 times 6 is 36. That's close to 41 without going over. So let's put our 6. Now remember, keep the 6 over the 1's place, over the top of the 1. 6 times 6 is 36. Good. Set up your subtraction problem. Keep your numbers stacked, your 1's in the 1's place, your 10's in the 10's place. All right. We can't subtract 1 minus 6. Don't put a 5 down here. Okay? Not just until you check it. This does not say 6 minus 1. It says 1 minus 6. So we've got to go borrow. So the 4 becomes a 3. The 1 becomes an 11. 11 minus 6 is 5. And then 3 minus 3, of course, is 0. Now you can put your 5 because you did your borrowing. 6 remainder 5. Okay? All right. 51 divided by 7. 7 times what gets me close to 51? Whoops, without going over. 7 times 10 is way too big at 70. What about 7 times 9 at 63? It's too big. 7 times 8, that's 56. That's still too big. 7 times 7 is 49. Well, that one's not too big. Let's do that one. 7 times 7 is 49. So I'm going to put a 7. 7 times 7, I said, was 49. Okay. We're going to set up our subtraction problem. 1 minus 9. It does not say 9 minus 1. Don't put an 8 there. We have to go borrow because I can't take 9 from 1. I borrow from the 5, it becomes a 4. I give that 10 to the 1, it becomes an 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. 4 minus 4, of course, is nothing. This number is definitely bigger than this number, so I know I'm done. That's my remainder, 7 remainder 2. That is my answer. Okay. All right, let me check my time on this. Okay, let's go on to these few problems. Let's do 15 divided by 2. Think, 2 times what is going to get you close to 15? 2 times 10 is way too big, it's 20. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 8 is still too big, it's 16. Do 7. 2 times 7 is 14. Okay, so I'm going to put my 14, my 4 and my 1, my 1 and my 10s. Subtract, 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 minus 1, of course, is 0. This number is bigger than this number, so I know I'm done. I can't do any more. So that's my remainder, 7 remainder 1. 22 divided by 3. Think, what factor are you going to use? 3 times what gets you close to 22? Good. You know 3 times 7 is 21. That's really close. So put your 7 on top of the second 2 there on the 1's place. 3 times 7 we know is 21. I'm going to put my 21 under there. Then I'm going to subtract. 2 minus 1, of course, is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. Bigger number, the dividend is now bigger. Or excuse me, the divisor is now bigger than your number here. So I know I'm done. So 7, whoops, remainder 1 is your answer. Okay. 48 divided by 7. 7 times 7 is 49. That's too close. I mean, too big. 7 times 6 is 42. Let's use that one. So let's put our 6 over our 8. 7 times 6 I know is 42. I'm going to put that under the 48. Set up my subtraction problem. 8 minus 2 is 6. 4 minus 4, of course, is nothing. Your divisor is bigger than your number here, so we know we're done. So that's our remainder. So 6, remainder 6. Okay. All right. 11 divided by 2. Let's do, see, 2 times, well, we know this, 2 times 5 is 10. That one's really close. So let's do 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Well, I'm going to put my 10 in there. 1 minus 0 is 1. 1 minus nothing, 1 is nothing. My divisor is bigger than my number here, so I know I'm done. So 5, remainder 1. All right, 26 divided by 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. It's too big. I'm going to use the 6. 6 times 4 is 24. I'm going to put my 24. All right, I'm going to subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2. Of course, 2 minus 2 is 0. My divisor is bigger than this number, so that's my remainder. So 6 remainder 2. Okay. 19 divided by 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. It's too big. So I'm going to go with the 3. So I'm going to put my 3 on top of the 9. 3 times 6 is 18. So I'm going to subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. 1 minus 1, of course, is nothing. So 3, remainder 1. All right, then 27 divided by 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 6 is 30, so that's too big. So I'm going to use the 5. So the 5 goes on top of your 7. So 5 times 5 is 25. Subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Your divisor is bigger than the number here, so you know you're done. That's your remainder. 5 remainder 2. What this means, guys, is that you could take 27. I could divide it out into 5 groups. And if I could draw a picture and divide 27 out into 5 groups, then that means there would be 5 in each group and 2 left over that would not go anywhere. And that would be my remainder. So continue working on doing some division practice. We have another division worksheet for day 4 to complete for today.